All right, what we got? We got Death of a Game, Titanfall 1 and 2 from Nerdslayer Studios. Let me see.
Before there was Apex Legends, the hit movement-based battle royale shooter that virtually came out of nowhere, Respawn had a series that laid the very groundwork for that title, as well as impressed fans to a next-level degree. Respawn would release Titanfall 1 and 2 within nearly 2 years of each other, and both would create rumbles in the internet that we still feel today.
Oh
With
yeah.
Titanfall 1's launch in the March of 2014, Respawn put themselves on the map, letting
Well, let's just be a little specific. Yes, it was Respawn, but specifically, it was a specific handful of guys that originally made the OG Call of Duties, and they broke off, made Titanfall 1 and 2, and I think some of them stayed around to create Apex, and then after that, like a year or two into it, they're just like, oh, we're done again. So they just like booked it out of there. So there's a specific handful, maybe two handfuls of people that are responsible, but to my knowledge, they're no longer working at Respawn.
everyone know that the team comprised largely of former Infinity Ward staff was
There you
going
go.
to mean business, and wasn't just going to be known for the successful COD franchise. Respawn would follow this up in October of 2016 with a sequel launch dubbed Titanfall 2, this time including a much adored single-player campaign, as well as making a number of new changes to the existing multiplayer of Titanfall 1.
The single player for Titanfall 1, I can't even remember it. Like when I played it, it was on Xbox 360 many years ago. I had to been in my like teenage years or something like that. But it wasn't bad. It was good. When Titanfall 2 came out, it was just a more polished version of Titanfall 1. And plus the campaign kicks ass. And it's like relatively short, but what was it? It's like 8, 9, 10 hours ish, which is pretty short, but it gets the job done. And plus the multiplayer was really good.
Although oftentimes shooters sort of quietly fade into obscurity in a way many virtual worlds just aren't afforded the luxury of, partly due to the design of them, and also partly due to the business model. Sometimes titles
Oh, what was that? Shadowrun?
in a way many virtual worlds just aren't afforded the luxury.
Bro, this game was so fucking fun. Shadowrun. Oh my god, it was like it was a third person shooter, but you had like different classes. Like you had elves, dwarves, humans, I think ogres, and then I think you had like a couple other like different races in there, but each class had its own like abilities and like weapon loadouts that you could do. And shit, what was it? There were like specific game modes. Was it just TDM, or I think it was something. It was like push the point or something. Like you had like, I think it was 5v5 or maybe it was 6v6. But I think this was like one of the early what do you call it? Early games that implemented crossplay with, Xbox on console and Xbox on PC. And god dang, dude, this game was so fun.
Of, partly due to the design of them, and also partly due to the business model. Sometimes titles can also have extremely long lives way after their original shelf lives, such as Wolfenstein Enemy Territories or Counter-Strike.
Oh yeah.
Though other times those titles find themselves in this series.
Oh my god, what is this? Is this OG Titanfall? Is Titanfall 1? Oh my god. I mean, it's the layout is pretty much the same. Either like the map is like on one side or the other, but like it's generally about the same HUD. And I don't remember how good the quality of the level was, because you could still like wall run and double jump and whatnot. But man, I spent so many hours in Titanfall 1 multiplayer.
Rather prematurely. This is the case with both Titanfall projects, with both of them having nearly non-functioning official multiplayers at this moment, and Respawn and EA seemingly having moved on. Why did both Titanfalls only years after their launch seem to have already started to find many issues in increasing or even just maintaining their player bases?
Well, I think one variable was that back in this time, this was like also the golden era of Call of Duty. I think it was like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. Was it Modern Warfare 3? Yeah, Titanfall 1 and 2 had to compete with all of the other shooters. There was like some good ass Battlefields in there. What else? There's a bunch of shooters. Like I'm just misremembering right now. But yeah, and trying to come up when you're like a no-name studio. Like I mean, because like when I played, what was it, Titanfall 1 and 2, I was not hooked up to, or well, I was hooked up to the internet, but I wasn't as plugged in, and I didn't pay enough attention to the internet as I do now. I could, if I look at a game, I could see, oh, that's the studio. What's their history? They made this, this, and this. I didn't think like that when I was a little kid. I didn't realize that the core, like developers and people came from Infinity Ward. I didn't realize that at the time, but if I did, I probably would have, paid more attention to it. I probably would have stuck around. But no, little old teenage me, dumbass. I just see new shooter. It's kind of fun. I could jump on walls and run on walls and shit. And it's like, oh, if whatever my friends are playing, I'm going to play. And that also, comes into effect. That's also a variable. If all your friends are playing Call of Duty, but you really like Titanfall 2, but you ain't got no friends playing, what are you probably going to do? You're probably going to jump on the one that all your friends are playing. It just, it is what it is, man. Like, Respawn did not build up a name for itself initially.
Now having nearly non-existent populations. And why did things get so awry that Respawn had to pull Titanfall 1 from the stores altogether?
Really?
We'll find out this and more on the Death of a Game series.
Oh my god, I remember this map.
A series where we take the largest contributing factors to a game or company's demise and catalog them over the course of a timeline, finding any clues and evidence along the way that can help us with our final deduction. Every detective's favorite point of the mystery, I should add, where we solve the case. If you miss out on any of the clues along the way, make sure you pay attention to the final deduction and any potential clues for the next episode.
All right.
End of this episode.
Death of a Game. Titanfall. Oh shit.
The story of Respawn is very much the story of the ashes of Infinity Ward forming together and being rebirthed as a phoenix, or something like that.
Yeah.
The reality was slightly less glamorous.
Okay, let me see. Ex-Call of Duty dev reveals how Activision tried to convince Infinity Ward staff to stick around after firing the studio's founders. Oh. Activision. This is when it all changed. The Activision acquisition. Tried to convince Infinity Ward staff to stick around after firing studio's founders. Okay. Just take the money and get over it. Jesus. It has gone down as one of the most tumultuous days in video game development history. But even now, nearly 14 years later, we're still getting insight into the day Activision fired the founders of Infinity Ward. In March 2010, Infinity Ward co-founders Vince Zampella and Jason West were escorted out of the studio by security after being fired for breach of contract and insubordination. Is this insubordination? This is bullshit, whatever. The shocking news came just a handful of months after Activision had released blockbuster hit first-person shooter Modern Warfare 2. One of the GOATs. What did I tell you? This is like the golden era of shooters. Developed by Infinity Ward and launched to 1 billion in sales. $1 billion in sales back then. That is absolutely crazy money. Even nowadays, if you launch a game and it makes $1 billion in sales, that's absolutely crazy. And it was like $1 billion back then. What happened next is well documented. West and Zampella sued the Bobby Kotick led publisher Activision for 36 mil. Activision countersued, accusing West and Zampella of meeting EA in secret to steal the Infinity Ward studio. Of course, West and Zampella did end up co-founding rival FPS studio Respawn Entertainment with Electronic Arts, bringing plenty of disgruntled Infinity Ward staff with them, and went on to develop Titanfall before smash hit Battle Royale Apex Legends. Complaints about unpaid royalties were lodged. And in the end, all the messy lawsuits were settled. What was left of Infinity Ward went on to release Modern Warfare 3. That's why Modern Warfare 3 didn't feel so good. I remember that. I loved the shit out of Modern Warfare 2, and what happened? Did it go Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, and then did it go Modern Warfare 3? Is that what happened? I think. Bro, when I picked up Modern Warfare 3, I could instantly tell, like, this feels weird. This does not feel the same as Modern Warfare 2. Like, I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was just like, fuck it, whatever. All my friends are playing anyway, so whatever. Bro, that's crazy. I have never read this article. This is unheard of for me.
With Infinity Ward co-founders Vince Zampella and Jason West being escorted out of the studio by security, accused of breach of contract and insubordination. They then would sue Bobby Kotick's Activision for...
Bobby Kotick is out here fucking up video games for everybody. He's fucking up the MMOs. He's fucking up the shooters. Bro, we could be living in an alternate timeline where everything, like all the video games are good, if this guy simply did not exist. Just think about that for a second. Everything could be completely different if he was just not there. You know, let me like enter a fucking alternate timeline, Doctor Strange style. Give me the 16 million alternate reality possibilities where this guy is just not there. Let me transport to that reality, please.
For 36 million, which would then be countersued, and the duo accused of trying to steal Infinity Ward, the studio, and then things would end up being settled eventually, out of court, but that was kind of the story of the birth of Respawn, which is a very fitting name, eh? Infinity Ward, of course, was responsible for the smash hit Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare just recently at the time, though the founders in question had left before creating the second game that they were also tasked with working on. Titanfall would sprout from the very beginnings of Respawn as a company. Producer Drew McCoy would state about the early goings of Titanfall that we had no idea what we wanted to do. We were a blank slate and it was really a long process to get here. We went through a lot of iterations on different things we wanted to try. We didn't really nail this down. We were making things in pieces that we are still using, but our pre-production prototype phase was really long. It came about over the course of a year or two. One of the strong hooks for Titanfall would be the movement and parkour system.
The movement and parkour system is literally the core of it all. And in case you didn't know, I think they use the Source engine, which is, I think, isn't it the same engine as Counter-Strike, except they updated it, tweaked it a little bit to make it so that like, oh, you can wall run, you can double jump, you gain another jump after climbing on a wall again. And with that was like birthed one of the best movement systems in like FPS history.
This would take form from the company's programmers working on a rudimentary wall running mechanic in the Source engine. The unlikely inspiration of Half-Life.
I think it's like one of the best. Honestly, I think what came out, did Warframe come out before or after Titanfall 1? Because, you see Warframe, and Warframe has some of the best movement in a shooting game, period. I think Warframe came out after this. I would venture to say that Titanfall 1 and 2 inspired Warframe movement. 100%.
Life 2 would lead to the creation of Titanfall in many different ways, including them utilizing the very source engine itself. The next strongest hook, which the name of the franchise would be named after, were the Titans in Titanfall. The Titans themselves were inspired by old-school modeling methods and constraints on resources. Made out of paper mache, or machetes as they were calling them, and being as large as 12 to 14 inches, these paper machetes were allowing the Titans themselves to take very real looks and be inspired by the Abrams tank itself.
Bro, that's so
also
cool.
Formulate the design of the gameplay and the very feeling of the world, with the big titans fighting against the small pilots by scale. It also helped Titanfall feel far more near future than something like Gundam, for example, that always.
Yeah, I think also at the time when Titanfall was coming out, wasn't it also we were like in the mix of it with the Matrix? Maybe Titanfall came after the Matrix, but you know, Matrix 1 didn't have like any of those little robo suits, but Matrix 2 and 3, if you remember, they had those little suits where like the guys could like just jump in, and then you had that crazy ass like bullet ridden scene of like all those guys just like trying to take down all the sentinels and shit. I think that played like another part, you know, and like as far as like inspiration wise into like how all these came to be, which is like really cool.
Felt more far future. Jason West, one of the key founders in both Infinity Ward and Respawn, would retire March 3rd, 2013. According to the reports, this would have nothing to do with Respawn or Titanfall, and was more so based on personal family issues, but him being a key figure means that I still needed to cover it. Respawn would come out swinging and announce Titanfall August 2013, trying to break free from their hefty Call of Duty shadow. By December 2013, Respawn consisted of an overwhelming amount of veteran developers, and developers that had a lot of experience with shooters, so Titanfall really was a no-brainer. By December 2013, the game was feature complete, and only needed.
There's that phrase, feature complete. On day one, there are little to no bugs in the dang thing. There's no day. I don't remember if there was a day one patch. I didn't play the game on day one. I was playing this shit on console with a roller. But yeah, feature complete.
Needed the remaining polishing and bug fixing to push to gold status, and then a launch. More Titans would be revealed, such as the Atlas Titan, an agile flea-like craft, the Ogre Titan, which is equipped with heavy armor and is a
Was it supposed to be like a gorilla?
lumbering beast, and then the Strider Titan was also introduced, which seemed like the fastest of the Titans, being similar to MechWarrior's Commando, with the addition of a dash jet. The Titans in Titanfall were taking classic paper, rock, scissor approaches, where some were going to be better against others, and so on and so forth. Make no mistake though, a proper focused Titan can make short work of multiple pilots, really selling the whole David versus Goliath, or David's versus Goliath aspect Respawn was wanting to push. Due to limited resources, Respawn was.
And just take note that even in Titanfall, there was no. Yes, there were like abilities and shit, but there was no holy trinity of tank, healer, DPS that you see in like some other shooters, like Overwatch or something like that. You know, you can still have this like different types of. You can still have different types of Titans and whatnot without having to revert to tank, healer, support, or tank, healer, DPS type of classes.
Was only really targeting a PC and Xbox launch for Titanfall 1, and they were enlisting in the help of a successful port developer, Bluepoint Games, to help with the console portion of the game. Now, this is a point that many people would also start to speculate, including of course with the gift of hindsight. Why and how things could have been potentially much different had they also had a PlayStation launch originally. More impressions would come out concerning Respawn's new multiplayer-focused shooters, such as the maps being able to feature both AI, players, and Titans, up to 50 at the same time. The AI would consist of grunts, stalkers, and specters. Grunts being mostly fodder, stalkers the same, and specters presenting an actual challenge. Although it would be nice if the lot were more challenging to help build the immersion even more, since both teams have teams of AI that actually go to war with each other. Regardless, it still helps build each map and the immersion. You really do feel like you are going to war compared to games like Battlefield, which lacked AI for many moons.
Yeah.
Titan
Yeah, I think the attrition game mode for Titanfall was one of the best like immersive experiences that you could have in like a multiplayer. And it was casual too. Like attrition was like the most popular one. And also, you know, you could get competitive with it, but you know, I don't know, I don't remember what it was like back in the day. But that mode, you know, it was, I think it was perfect in terms of it's perfect. You could, if you're a casual, what do? You just jump in attrition, kill some bots. Maybe you come across a player, kill the player. All right, you load up your little Titan meter, call down your Titan, kill some more bots. Maybe you kill another player. Maybe you kill another Titan, and it's like the perfect blend of, you know, bots, players, Titans. It's awesome, I think.
Titanfall 1's beta would take place sometime in February of 2014 and reach an impressive 2 million players in the process. Titanfall 1 would launch March 11, 2014, and would shake up the multiplayer shooter scene altogether. Launching on both PC and Xbox, Titanfall would score an impressive 86 out of 100.
Dang, look at this, look at this. Titanfall on Xbox. Metascore, critic. This is back in the day. 86. User score, 6 points. So it's 7. Everyone's like, oh, it's a 7. It's whatever. I think I didn't know that critic reviews were like all paid to like give favorable reviews or whatever back in the day when I was a little kid. This literally just did not dawn on me because back in the day I thought the critics are like the cool guys. They play video games all day and just judge video games. You know, when I got my little Game Informer magazine, I would, you know, every month I'd be like going through it and then I'd be super excited to get to the back of it and be like, oh, what do the critics say? Because I thought like video game critics were about the same as movie critics. And the best movie critics back then were like, was it Siskel and Ebert or Robert and Ebert or something like that? And I was like, oh, these guys must be like them. That's cool. But then I didn't really understand how important the user score was back then. So I don't know.
From 68 different critics, it looked like the Respawn team had respawned and done it again. IGN was glowing in their review of the game, granting Titanfall 1 a 8.9 out of 10 and claiming that it represents a potent fusion of established and modern design ideas, creating a tense and rewarding balance of power and moment-to-moment unpredictability.
Also, I think, and this is just like my 2 cents, people like why the review score, the user score was about like a point lower than the critic score. Or what was it? Like the critic score was like what? Like an 8 or a 9, but then the user score was like barely a 7. I think it's because most people back then, you know, in terms of FPS overall skill of like most people were just bad. Most people were just bad at playing FPS. FPS wasn't like, yes, it was popular to like some degree because it was like, you know, I said it was around like the golden era of like Modern Warfare 2 and whatnot, but the fuck were you doing in Modern Warfare 2? You know, everyone's like rolling around with aim assist, you know, quick scoping like snipers and whatnot. You had the dual akimbo shotguns that like were essentially snipers. What else? People were doing like one-man army noob tube thing. You know, it wasn't very skillful like you would think. No one's running around with like fucking SMGs and shit. Everyone's just like doing whatever is fun. You know, everyone's like, what was that one level where it's just like a grassy fucking plain, but like in the center there were like some tunnels, and everybody just like ran towards the tunnel. There'd be some people like in the tunnel like corner camping. What did you do? You fucking just grenaded the shit out of that. You like noob tube the shit out of that. You're getting like 2 or 3 kills with your little noob tube. Then you one-man army, refresh all your shit. All the other stupid people are just like flowing in, and the second you see something, what do? You pop another noob tube. You're like, oh, I got some more kills, and then you do that. You get You get up to 7, you get your the Harrier. Where do? You put that shit on the other side. Yep. Then you got your Harrier. Then your Harrier's fucking just mowing enemies down. Then you got your chopper gunner. You jump in the chopper gunner, and you start mowing enemies down, and then voila, you got a nuke. All right. So it's not that skillful. Back in the golden era of Modern Warfare 2 and so on and so forth, it simply just was not. But all that to say that I think Titanfall 2 had, or 1 and 2 had a higher skill cap, a higher skill ceiling, simply because the movement was quicker. You had to actually look up to shoot your enemies. And as far as aim assist goes, I mean, I don't know how strong the aim assist was back then. I'm sure somebody could like figure it out, but I just simply don't know. But I just know those two things of fast movement and actually having to look up to shoot your enemies, running all the goddamn walls and whatnot. Those two things alone make it very difficult to, aim at enemies.
Like minions mixed with the traditional on-foot deathmatch, jetpack-powered locomotion, and giant robot combat, each role playing its own part in the battle and coming with its own tactics and strategies, while the well-designed maps make the ideal weapons and loadout completely situational and dynamic. IGN's criticisms would actually mimic the late Total Biscuits in many ways, concerning the lack of modes the game would offer, customization.
Another FPS that falls victim to the thing I always say is the downfall of all FPS. They only come out with like maybe a handful of modes and then it just dies by it. All right. Look at Halo. Look at how many fucking new modes that Halo came out with. Halo has a fucking laundry list of different game modes. Halo came out with Forge. Forge is like one of the best damn things that to like happen to fucking to FPS. And I don't know why more FPS games don't implement it. It's baffling to me. It's not enough to come out with team deathmatch, territories, King of the Hill, I don't know, capture the flag. It's not enough. Maybe you have like a ranked mode. Maybe you have a pub mode. Maybe you have like a limited time mode. Ooh, the content is here. Come back for the content. And then, the content gone. Oh, that's such a bonehead thing for fucking developers to do. You want people to stick around? Leave the modes in. Come up with some modes. All right? Play a bunch of different video games. Be inspired by the things that you can do. Take that shit, put it in your game. Leave it in your game. For Christ's sake.
Features available at launch, and the fact that the single player was a glorified multiplayer mission set. USA Today would give Titanfall 1 a perfect score, stating that Titanfall pulls off a difficult feat in the oversaturated first-person shooter genre, delivering a video game that feels unique and as thrilling as those first times you picked up Call of Duty or Battlefield. For Xbox One owners, this is spring's must-own title. The main way of experiencing Titanfall 1 was the attrition mode, which teams would win by scoring the most attrition points, which you would gain from both killing AI and humans. There were also some side modes like Last Titan Standing, Pilot Hunter, and Hardpoint, which would play exactly like they sound, but that's sort of it. Attrition was going to be the main way to enjoy Titanfall.
Yeah.
Compared to some other flagship shooter modes, I think it was kind of fairly lacking. The concept of AI on the map wasn't entirely novel, though still largely new at the time, and the AI in Titanfall 1 wasn't really much of a challenge.
Yeah, you just saw that clip, like all the little bots just running past the guy of like, I gotta get to my little spot.
That's about the most negative thing that I could say about Titanfall 1, which brings my favorite aspect of...
But you had different levels of bots, I think. I mean, even in Titanfall 1, you had like the regular humans, and then you had the regular robots, and then you had like the level 2 people to spawn, which were, what were they? They were like armored humans, and then you had like armored robots, and then you had like the level 3 version, which was like, I think it was like those Reaper robots that were like mini bosses for both sides. And those guys kick your fucking ass if you don't got a piece of cover. Like if you're like running out here and you're just out in the middle of nowhere trying to fight a Reaper robot, it's like you're about to die.
Gameplay into focus, the movement. Put mech suits into these movement-filled player hands, and well, there's another of my favorite things added to the fray. Where Titanfall really shines, though, where other shooters often don't, is the level of detail and immersion brought to each map and battlefield. With AI fighting each other and often having execution and fighting animations with each other,
Yeah.
it makes things feel real and immersive. Something
Yeah, that's cool, man. That is how you immerse players. Look at fucking Monster Hunter. Look at what Turf Wars did for Monster Hunter. Turf Wars were amazing. Why? Because there's other people, other monsters, other beasts in the damn world besides the main character. Everything doesn't have to be centered around the main character. If you want to immerse your player, have people have things fighting around, all right? Have things fighting each other around the player. You know, everybody doesn't have to do a big fucking kumite around the damn player where there's like 100 bad guys in a circle and like all your little allies are off like, that's not realistic. It's not. All right. Okay.
Something that Battlefield was lacking for many, many years, and games like Squad don't even have at all. The first DLC, which was included in the purchasable Season Pass, would include 3 new maps. 2 more DLCs would also follow, adding 3 more maps each, completing the season.
I think I bought these. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look on my Xbox. I mean, you get a map for if you pay a little bit money. There are map packs. I mean, yes, it's DLC, and you know, depending on who you talk to, they're either like pro or con for the map packs. And it was just like, me as a little kid, I couldn't wrap my head around the moral argument of fucking DLC, that goddamn fucking horse armor.
And pass. While 9 new maps the first year might seem quite impressive, these maps feel like they could have been just included in the game to start for, and maybe added some more variety for the game modes, as well as building familiarity from the very start of the game, creating people's favorite maps. Asking a price for them for an already bare-bones multiplayer shooter was a bit of a hard ask for many players, myself included. The final major update would hit Titanfall 1 October 2014 and introduce an all-new co-op mode dubbed Frontier Defense, as well as include the ranked mode play.
Oh, they actually had ranked play in Titanfall 1? Shit, I don't think I stuck around for this. By the time they came out with this, I think I had like moved on to like the next Call of Duty or some shit.
As I always do on the series, I always take notes on how long it takes for a competitive shooter to receive a ranked mode, as it does insane damage on the normal player base due to a lack of proper matchmaking. Titanfall, with its fast pace, high...
You know, did they have skill-based matchmaking back in the day? Like for Titanfall 1? I don't think they did. Maybe they did, I don't know. But they probably used some sort of system that was similar to like Halo 2. Because Halo 2's matchmaking was... you know, there's a ton of tweets about the main guy that made it and what his purpose was, his intentions were for it. But, you know, there was a bunch of different game modes that had a ranked playlist, but all of those game modes also had a public playlist. And, I mean, essentially, you are generally fighting people within 1 or 2 levels of your rank. But then again, I will go back to saying that people back then probably weren't as good as they are today. So, you know, over time, you would think there would be like a natural bell curve to the rank distribution. But, I mean, who's to say?
High ceiling of combat would take 6 months to receive a ranked mode. This is more than enough time to turn players off from playing the game, especially when the whole David versus Goliath aspect of the Titans versus the pilots can be doubly frustrating when you aren't good enough to overcome that immense hill. This is a bit of an elephant in the room that I've kind of been avoiding.
I really wonder what the fucking meta of like, because like, yes, there was like a ranked play, but like what modes were ranked? Was it just attrition, or was it like pilot versus pilot? Was it Titan versus Titan? Was it a hard point only? Like, what were the fucking metas that developed? Because I didn't experience any of it. Like if I could imagine, like, there were probably data miners back in the day, like data mining all of this shit to figure out, like, let's just say, take for an example, a ranked attrition mode or something. There has to be a data miner trying to figure out, okay, these are where all the bots spawn. So you just have like your main player go run out real quick, maybe use like a stim to get to the bot spawns really, really quick and try to like mow them all down so you can stack the little Titan bar up really quick on like one single player, as opposed to, everybody sharing, getting a couple kills with the bots equally. And once that player gets the first Titan, it's a whole new game. Once that first Titan is down, that you jump in that shit, you start hunting the damn pilots. Make sure they do not get their Titan. If anything, it was probably something along those lines, but I could be wrong. There's probably like a different game mode or different metas for different game modes and shit like that, especially for capture the flag. I mean, did this game have the grapple hook? Because like the grapple hook was a game changer in Titanfall 2, and I've seen some of those competitive matches, and it's crazy the amount of velocity and angles that you can pull off when you get hit that like perfect grapple, and you just literally fly across the map with the flag. It's hilarious.
Since I like movement in games and stuff like that, but while the elusive and fast-paced animation cancelable movement in Titanfall was a major selling point for many, as I've stated, myself included, it made the skill floor, which is what you start at, pretty high to start with. And then at the higher ends, the skill cap is also absurd, with some pilots being able to outsmart Titans themselves, and some Titans being able to take on multiple Titans at the same time.
Yeah.
This all probably sounds awesome for veteran players, and it probably should, but the problem is when you compare something like Titanfall to something like...
Also, there's something to be said with the visual clutter of all of this. To a regular person, if this was like a televised or streamed thing, and you're a normie and you got no idea what the fuck is going on, this screen is not helping at all. Like, let's be real. There is so much shit going on. Like, I just saw this and I'm like, this looks like a goddamn mythic level raid in World of Warcraft with how much shit is going on. Like, come on, guys. Challenge completed. Titan Killer, 40mm cannon. You got shield, health, minimap. You have some shit on the side, which is the inside of your Titan for immersion. You got the hand going up. You got the I don't know, what is this? Like last Titan standing. There's 1 kill to 1 kill. This big old skull thing. There's a timer. There's some points going down. This is like where you're taking damage. Titan locked. This is your kill feed. These are all your abilities on cooldown. Like, there's like, what is this flash? This is like the bullet shield, and maybe this little reticle means like you just shot out like the little tracking dart to give you like an extra fucking lock on for your missiles about to like go down. You have this fucking bar. You have the black and the yellow caution. You have the red bar, and you got like the damn thing is on fire. You got like some more streaks. I don't know where this dude's gun is, or whatever. But like, this is what I'm saying. To a regular person that has no idea what the fuck is going on, this looks intimidating. Okay, it does.
Multiple Titans at the same time. This all probably
like, look at this. Look at all the fucking arrows. Look at all the damage. There's a fucking arrow here. You're taking damage over there. You're taking damage over there. You're taking damage from the front. You got your gun with, look at all this muzzle flash right here. Look at this shit. Why are there 2 health bars? Is there a guy back there? Is there a guy on that Titan? And that's his health bar? Look at all the smoke. I feel like I'm playing the fucking Ring 5 in Apex Legends right now.
Sounds awesome for veteran players, and it probably should. But the problem is when you compare something like Titanfall to something...
Look at all the sparks that just popped out. Your screen gets like fuzzied or blurred. Like, look at this. There's like multiple things going on.
Like Halo, a comparable fast-paced shooter, the difference being that Halo 3 and Reach were far more casual-friendly, and they offered far more in variety of play. Titanfall taking that much skill to play and master was awesome, but it was just going to simply limit how many people could realistically play the game.
I would probably compare Titanfall 1 and 2 skill gap, skill floor, skill ceiling to something along the lines of Super Smash Bros. Melee. Super Smash Bros. Melee, I think, follows about the same curve. It's easy to learn. It's very hard to master. All right. Super Smash Brothers was initially intended to be, a party game or whatever, but the majority of people that played it, at least in like North America, wanted to make it like a really competitive thing, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So a lot of people in the North America scene, liked it. They played it for a long time and they made it competitive. All right. It's a fighting game now. Yes, it's a party game, but I'm saying it falls under that guise or that umbrella of it's a fighting game. 1v1, final destination. No items. 3 stocks. First to 3. 3 out of 5 or whatever. It is innately competitive. Same thing with a shooter. Shooting games that have PvP in them are just innately competitive. Titanfall was easy to learn, hard to master. It's the same thing. But for some reason, early on, or maybe late, I don't exactly know when, people that play fighting games, they know fighting games are competitive. Like, nobody really casually plays like a fighting game. Like, yes, you can. Like, back in the day, what do you call it? I would casually play a bunch of different fighting games. I would just play whatever my friends were playing. We're going over Kyle's house. We're gonna go play Super Smash Brothers, and then my boy Julian, he's gonna be on Zelda. My boy Kyle's gonna be on whatever fucking top tier. I'm gonna be on the other top tier character. Pat is always gonna be on motherfucking Link because that's his favorite character. He's a Nintendo bro, and it's just everyone was kind of casual, kind of hardcore, and we all wanted to beat the fucking shit out of each other because we were all kind of competitive with it. None of us were coming home from school and just going, oh man, you take all these games too seriously, Kyle. You ruin all your fighting games. All right. None of us were doing that. All of us wanted to win every round as much as humanly possible. None of us wanted to casually, just get KOs, just get knockouts. Like, buh, buh, buh. All right. The fighting game community has accepted that if a new fighting game comes out, it is competitive. But for some reason, the fucking shooting community is just so divided. Half the people that play shooters, they want to play it casually. The other half of the people, they want to play it competitively. And because there is this divisive thing going on in the shooting game community as a whole, when a new shooting game comes out, no one can figure out, like, you got half the side bitching, complaining that, it's casual, it's too casual, it's too random, there's no competitive scene, so then it dies. And then another shooting game comes out, and it's like, all the casuals going, the game's too sweaty. There's a competitive scene. What the hell? Another FPS ruined because the tryhards and the sweats just ruined the damn thing. And this is for every FPS game. The casuals and the hardcores always butting heads. But look at the fighting game community. Everybody kind of knows new fighting game come out. It's probably going to be competitive. Whether or not it's going to be at EVO is like a whole nother thing. But like, you take that shit seriously. And I really wish that people that make FPS genres would just be a little more transparent in what they want from their game. I mean, like I said before, if you're gonna come out and have your shit be like casual, be casual as fuck and come out with a bunch of modes. If you want your shit to come out and you want it to be competitive, have a good anti-cheat and still come out with a bunch of different modes and leave them in the damn game.
Especially if they didn't add any casual modes. Remember, Halo 3 didn't just have matchmaking, it also had custom games, a Forge system which allowed people to build custom game modes,
what did I say?
and so on and so forth.
This is Halo Forge is like the best thing that happened to shooting games, and why no other shooting game has been able to replicate this is beyond me.
But the new mode and ranked were just in time for a Steam launch in November of 2014, which would help pick the population up. Titanfall was a new shooter, however. And
imagine if you had Titanfall 2 Forge and you just let the community make some shit. Imagine that.
Respawn still very likely had time to evolve it into something more. They already had a good reputation and made a good first effort, so things were looking good for both the company and their first game. In a shocking turn of events though, only just a year after the launch of Titanfall 1, Respawn would be confirming a sequel was on the way.
Oh, only 2 years later. How long's it been since Titanfall 2 dropped and we still ain't got Titanfall 3? Poof! That clock is ticking. I'm about to die soon.
This could be seen as slightly controversial because the only shooter making yearly sequels was the COD franchise,
Yep.
and this was one that the Respawn team used to be a part of, though their structure seems very different compared to Titanfall's. Would Respawn have enough time to evolve Titanfall 2 into something more than just Titanfall 1 with some extra stuff, which was already a niche shooter, or would it just end up being a slight upgrade that fans would enjoy but would do very little to actually attract new players? Titanfall 1 had reportedly reached around 7 million in total sales, and
That is very good. That's crazy good. 7 million in total sales. Titanfall hits 10 million milestone. Thanks to everyone. We love you all. Respawn Entertainment's first game was a big success. The developer has now announced that Xbox and PC game has crossed the 10 million mark. Writing on Twitter. Respawn boss Vince Zampella announced the figure, though he didn't say it represents copies sold or total number of players. About 10 million. If you think about it real quick, this was probably about the same time as the MMO World of Warcraft started popping off with their gold sticker on each year that a new expansion came out for World of Warcraft. You know, you had the 5 million gold sticker, 6 million gold sticker, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10 million copies, players, I don't know, accounts, for the gold sticker. I remember that shit. This is a crazy milestone.
10 million in unique player IDs. This was incredibly impressive for a new shooter, especially one that I just described as being niche, though it was supported, of course, by a veteran team. But the thing about shooters is that what keeps people playing them is progression and new content that constantly comes out.
Yes. Progression and new content, and also a good anti-cheat and a good competitive scene. Some people, again, will argue otherwise. I don't care.
Being a cool, fun game like you used to have with like CS1 doesn't really work anymore. Titanfall didn't have progression, nor new content seriously at launch, and it wouldn't develop the rank system and a progression system and introduce the new content until later into that year. For competitive shooters, eventually making it to the content they need to sustain players is far more difficult than the other way around, of course. Because, obviously, because you're also plugging holes that existed since the launch of the game. Games like CS1, even if it's ancient, launched, feature, and game complete. And games like Halo 2 and Halo 3 launched with rank systems.
Yep.
But even though Titanfall 1 by all accounts and purposes was a success, EA, the publisher supporting Respawn Entertainment, seemed kind of tepid about the response. EA was expecting that...
Why were they tepid? Bro, they hit 7 million to 10 million like unique player IDs. How are you gonna be fucking tepid about that? That makes no sense.
The sequel, however, would greatly eclipse the previous game's sales and reception.
A clue down there. What was that? Let me see. Let me hear again.
With rank systems. But even though Titanfall 1 by all accounts and purposes was a success, EA, the publisher supporting Respawn Entertainment, seemed kind of tepid about the response. EA
Why?
was expecting that the sequel, however, would greatly eclipse the previous game's sales and reception.
What? Okay. What, was EA predicting a higher number than like 7 to 10 million? And the 7 to 10 million was just below their prediction. And so because it only got 7 to 10 million, it's like, oh no. They're already like doomsaying.
This time around, EA was expecting around 10 million in sales for Titanfall 2, meanwhile having projections for their other shooter, Battlefield 1, in the 14 to 16 million range.
Okay.
While experts and, well, anyone with a pulse were wondering why EA was launching Titanfall 2 so close to Battlefield 1 in the first place.
Oh, the release date. Yeah, Titanfall 2 release date really fucked them. Yeah, it got sandwiched between like Battlefield and like next Call of Duty. Yeah, that wasn't such a good thing.
place when they owned both of the games? Well, Andrew Wilson, EA CEO, stated that it was because they catered to two different types of shooter players, which is hilarious, as if there's a gulf of shooters for players to choose from, so much so that they had to choose only based on the major differences between the two. But,
Yeah.
well,
And it's so fucking ridiculous because you look at what is happening now with the Souls-like genre. There are so many Souls-like games coming out. They're all kind of the same, but they're all, kind of unique and different, and everybody will have their own favorite version of them. Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne. What else? Fucking Monster Hunter. Oh, it's not a Soulsborne. It kind of is, but it kind of not. You have Elden Ring, Lies of P, Armored Core 6. All right, they're all different versions of the same damn genre. Why can't we have a bunch of different FPSs? There doesn't have to be one FPS that rules them all. There can be, because what does Titanfall have? Titanfall got movement. What does Titanfall not have? Destruction. If I want destruction, I'll go play Battlefield. I'll go play in some fucking vehicles doing like a fucking 1080 jump out the vehicle, no scope to kill some dude in a damn vehicle, and then I'll jump back in the jet. I could do that in Battlefield. I can't do that in Titanfall. Why not cater to everybody with your different games? I don't get it.
Anyway, everyone else that I already stated was warning that this was not going to end well for Titanfall 2. Battlefield was easily 10 years older as a series, far more established, and had 6+ more titles in the franchise. You couldn't even call Titanfall a franchise yet, it only had one game.
Yeah.
And while Titanfall was more unique in aspects of movement and how the Titans themselves functioned, the core of attrition is not really that different from Battlefield's conquest or domination modes. If anything, it offers less in many ways. There's enough in similarity that players could default to whichever is the most popular or just looks the best, which...
Yeah, because honestly, I think players will only play what their friends are playing. And I will probably say that since Battlefield was the quote-unquote easier skill-wise of the game, that's one of the reasons why people migrated to Battlefield, because it was just simply an easier shooter. Coupling that with the fact that Titanfall was harder. You have to aim up. You have to, you have decent movement on Titanfall 2. You got the grapple hook. You got the stim. You got wall running, wall jumping, double jumping, every which way. You have tap strafing, super gliding, wall boosting, kick boosting, fucking zoom boosting, whatever the fuck else movement tech there is. It's just... It's a more skillful game. And what are people going to do? They're going to take the path of least resistance. That shit's too complicated. I'm going to go over here, spawn in on my tank, on my jet, on my chopper, and then I'm going to get in a vehicle, and then I'm just going to kill all these players on the ground.
Kind of the opposite point that Andrew Wilson was making. Forecast down or not, and common wisdom or not, Titanfall 2 would push to launch regardless October 28th, 2016 on Xbox and PC again, but this time also joining the PS4 for the first time. Now, Titanfall 2, to me, is one of the most interesting games that I've ever witnessed. And no, not necessarily because of the game itself, though it is a good game. It's because it's seen largely as this upgrade for Titanfall as a franchise, including an all-new punch-packing campaign. But it's interesting because, well, like the previous game, it managed to still impress so many critics and players at the same time, and scoring an impressive 89 out of 100 from 60.
Oh, look at that score. The user score actually good. Critic score even better. Whew. The rare case that the user score and the critic score pretty much align. God dang. That's a pretty good game, man. That's a pretty good game.
60+ critics. IGN, who would score it only 0.1 better than before, which is kind of odd considering they gave it such glowing remarks because of the new star-studded campaign, but I digress. Number rankings just suck in general. But IGN would call TF2 or Titanfall 2 a rare sequel that evolves on every part of the original concept so consistently for the better.
Yeah.
And the previous complaints about progression, variety, and single-player story were all seemingly solved. All things were really pointing towards another successful Titanfall project.
Yeah, like the main progression in Titanfall 2, there wasn't any. Well, yes, there were skins I think you could buy, but they were like Titan skins. And maybe I think there were like a couple gun skins, but it wasn't like a fucking laundry list that we have nowadays with all these like free to play games. It was simply just get kills with your gun, and then you just get the next skin, or get executions with whatever gun, and you get the next skin. Everybody was trying to get like gold guns on all of their guns. Just as simple as it was back in Modern Warfare 2. Just get kills with the gun, get the gold gun. Simple.
And an even more successful one than the previous one. But then the sales started coming out, and apparently TF2, as I'm going to continue to call it, despite all the TF2 fans, aka Team Fortress fans, probably getting mad at me, including it also being made in Source Engine. Anyway, so
yeah.
Titanfall 2 or TF2 had tanked at launch, despite a multi-platform launch. This might just seem like Respawn maybe just failing to meet expectations, but it was worse than that. They had failed to perform better than their previous game. Reportedly, TF1 would sell multiple millions of copies more than TF2. So that begs the question, why did TF2 perform worse, despite being hailed as the better, more longer-lasting title? Well, we already covered the fact that EA was pushing the game to launch at the same time as Battlefield, so that was part of it. But was there more to it than that? According to some, Respawn had control over the launch date, and according to others, EA knew that launching at this time would be problematic, but they were looking to acquire Respawn the easiest. So they devalued them, I guess? There's a couple of these hypotheses, but regardless of what the actual truth is,
it was the release date is what fucking fucked it. That's what I think. I don't know who called it. Was it Respawn that called it, or was it EA that called it? I mean, it doesn't really matter. Whoever made the decision, it was a bonehead decision. I mean, you probably could have waited a couple more months or something like that. Release it later. Let people get all of that shit out of their system from Battlefield. And then be like, oh, what's the new FPS? I'm tired of fucking doing 1080 no scopes out of my jet and jumping back in. What's the next FPS? Oh, Titanfall 2? Oh, let's give that one a shot. Oh my god, look at all this pilot movement, all this pilot mechanics. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, I'm gonna play this.
Clearly choosing to launch nearly the same time as one of the pioneer titans in the shooter industry was catastrophic. I think it's clear to see that EA had high expectations for the Titanfall franchise. Before they even released TF2, they were already working on multiple themed mobile.
What the fuck?
Clear to see that EA had high expectations for the Titanfall franchise. Before they even released.
Titanfall mobile game canceled. Never made it past beta. They were banking on a fucking mobile game for Titanfall? This is news to me. I never heard about this shit. Frontline, a mobile game based on Respawn's shooter series, is shutting down. A post on the Frontiers Facebook page, Facebook, today explains the game is being canceled before even fully launched.
At least TF2, they were already working on multiple themed mobile games. Two that would end up being canceled, and
was that a fucking card game? This was fucking, it's a damn card game. Oh my god. Oh, that's so funny. It's fucking Hearthstone before Hearthstone was Hearthstone. It's Titanfall Stone. Titan Stone.
And a Titanfall online game that would also end up being canceled, sort of like the Halo Online / Counter-Strike online game for the Eastern markets. Another reason TF2 was unable to sell better than TF1 is that the game was not that much more of an upgrade past the campaign. I had a friend, for example, who made this known to me, saying he never played single campaign anyway, so when he saw that TF2 had this as their main upgrade, he didn't even purchase the new game. And that's not counting a lot of the people will probably argue as well in the comments backing this up that TF1 is actually some people's favorite game. Titanfall 2, unlike Titanfall 1, would scrap the idea of paid DLCs and release their updates as free updates or DLCs, which was a good idea, introducing new maps, a new Titan, the Monarch Titan, and finally the Frontier Shield mode, the cooperative mode we mentioned in the previous game that functioned kind of like a Horde mode. Although releasing these as free updates was an improvement, Titanfall 2 would still take another solid year to get their proper content state steady.
Hold the line. What was that? Let me go back. 4-player co-op, hordes of unique enemies defend the Harrier,
Proper content.
the Harvester. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just like a PvE mode, like a horde mode. You know, you go in, You got you and your boys defend the line, hold the line. I actually never played this.
And stayed steady, with its population only continuing to shrink, especially because Battlefield 1 ended up being such a smash hit. It almost felt like rushing out TF2 had created so many of these unforeseen issues, both in terms of the launch date and their inability to generate the hype for it. TF2 just didn't have much of a hype cycle. It got overshadowed so much by bigger
Clue. Hype cycle?
competitors. What if TF2 had a proper hype cycle and a few years to build that up into something? I think they could have actually capitalized on their success a lot more.
I don't think Titanfall 2, did it have a ranked mode? I don't think they did. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't remember. Maybe it got released later. But not releasing with a ranked mode does definitely hurt your shooter. Because did Battlefield have a ranked mode? Or whatever the one was that launched alongside or right before Titanfall 2? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they didn't, then my argument's fucking stupid. But if they did, then my argument holds. But I don't know. People just like rank mode, dude.
Former Respawn founder Jason West would leave retirement and join Epic Games. Now, not much is really stated as to what he would be assisting Epic Games with, but this is probably another way for Epic Games to gobble up more talent and a potential future competitor. Respawn was acquired back in 2017 by EA for $151 million in cash following TF2's release. They were now an EA subsidiary company, but quietly, they had been working on yet another shooter. Apex Legends was launched seemingly out of nowhere, and Respawn claimed to have worked on it largely in secret, and not with EA hovering over their heads. And while I find that hard to believe, even though it's a cool story knowing EA, it's harder to believe because immediately following Apex Legends.
Bro, what is this? What is that fucking Eva? That's a damn sniper Eva. Like, look at that shit. Look at the fucking projectile growth. He's getting damn near like full, like all the pellets are hitting from that range. Bro, if I take the modern day Eva, that shit is hitting like maybe 1-2 pellets. What is that shit, dude?
Legends smashing success, EA would take credit for it anyway. But yeah, as most people watching this video know, Apex Legends was a smash hit and far eclipsed anything close to what...
Jesus. Apex Legends just hit 25 million players in a week. How on earth is this happening? Well, this is the rise in the plateau of the Battle Royale, because what was this before? It was, how did it go? It was, let me see. What the fuck was that military sim game? It was Arma 2 mod. Then it was H1Z1. Then it was PUBG. Then it was Fortnite, and you know, that popped off. And then I don't know what happened, what game happened after Fortnite, but maybe it was Apex, and then it was Warzone. And then here we are, just, you know, in the middle of, well, not in the middle, but like, I don't know, maybe on the downside. Well, maybe people just like fucking BRs. I don't know where Tarkov came in. Maybe it's somewhere in there. You had the Extraction shooter, which is like the more hardcore version of Battle Royale. Extraction.
What Titanfall had been previously able to hit itself. It was the Titanfall of the Battle Royale genre in many ways too, minus the lovely Titans.
Minus the Titans, minus the wall running, minus the double jumps and whatnot, but yeah.
Move over though, Titanfall, because Apex Legends is my real friend, said Respawn. Zampella would indicate sometime in May of 2020 that there was nothing in development currently for the Titanfall franchise, though adding he would like to see it personally, sort of hinting that perhaps maybe things were out of his hands. Titanfall 1, which if you remember only had been previously playable on Origin, would launch out of nowhere on Steam June 2020, and it was met with a mostly negative reception upon its launch. TF1 was plagued with severe technical issues such as a static jump scare every now and then with the audio, DLC map pack issues, and the worst part, sometimes matchmaking issues that made the game completely unplayable. This was made doubly worse because the single player in TF1 was just a multiplayer game mode. Hackers were destroying the matchmaking, crashing game clients and even servers entirely.
I mean, once an FPS gets super popular, then that is the green light for hackers to start invading the game, simply to grab attention and show you that, hey, your game, it's dog shit. I'm going to show you why. I mean, it's kind of funny because a lot of the abilities in Titanfall, just the Titanfall franchise period, are just like in-game hacks. You have like the scan where you can see everybody through walls and shit. What else? You had the smart gun, which is essentially just a little pistol that's like aimbot. So it's like, I don't know. It's like the game already had like cheat-like things in it, but then that's not enough for players. I need to take whatever gun I want. I need to have like maximum velocity. I need to have like God mode on. I need to be able to shoot you anywhere on the map. Regardless of how good or bad my aim is, the aimbot will take it. And yeah, that's just a big, I don't know. It's just a big thing that happens with FPSs. They get really popular. Oh, green light go. All the hackers get there.
Believe that they were belonging to a disenfranchised group of Titanfall fans, and others believed that it was just hackers doing it because of the vulnerabilities being available, period. Probably a bit of column 1 and column 2 though, let's be a bit honest.
Yeah.
Things were so bad that players were accusing Respawn of launching abandonware on Steam. Things would only continue to worsen by the next year, with Titanfall 2 being targeted as well, though the first took the majority of the brunt of the hacking, being almost unplayable for basically years at this point.
Yeah, for a long ass time, I tried to play Titanfall 2 like off of Steam, and it was just not possible. For whatever reason, the game was just getting constantly DDoSed. I don't really know what happened to it. And yeah, it was just literally unplayable.
Respawn would finally announce that help was coming April 2021 in the form of a patch, but unfortunately...
Yeah, I was there for that patch. It was so funny. They, what did they do? I forgot what the hell they did, but essentially there was like maybe like 1 or 2 guys working on the entire issue. And then it was like a night and day. They flipped a switch, and then all of a sudden the servers stopped getting DDoSed, and people could play again for like a couple days or a couple weeks or something like that until it happened again.
Fortunately, that help didn't really do much, with both games still, in a bizarre, never-before-seen way, being brought to their knees by hackers. Hackers were even joining Apex Legends and filling up those lobbies and referencing Titanfall hacks in the process, asking for changes. It was a total wacko world unfolding before all of our eyes, and where suddenly hackers blend in as both the good and the bad guys, and everyone else, me included, is just confused about what the heck Respawn and EA are even doing.
Yeah.
Respawn would finally bring help, if you would like to call it that in some backwards way, in the form of just outright removing the ability to purchase the first game from stores March 1st, 2022. The issue being that the Xbox player base didn't have any of the aforementioned issues, so they just lost the ability to gain new players easily.
Damn.
While this might have been a moral decision, and a right one business-wise, it seemed very late, and completely tone-deaf to what had been ongoing for many years at this point.
Actually, this raises another question. So you had Titanfall 1 servers for multiplayer. You had Titanfall 2 servers for multiplayer. What quality were the servers back then? Because if you look at like modern day Counter-Strike, they got like all these like fucking like 64 tick, 128 tick, fucking 256 tick servers, and all these competitive tick rate servers or sub ticks for the sub ticks, and packages for your packages to get like the best hit registration and whatnot. What kind of servers did Titanfall 1 have? What kind of servers did Titanfall 2 have? I mean, and you could look and see what kind of servers Apex Legends have. I think it's pretty common knowledge that they have like only 20 tick servers, which is like one of the worst, if not the worst, server tick rate within like all the competitive popular shooters nowadays. Yeah, so it's like, why has Respawn been unable to, upgrade their fucking servers since at least Titanfall 1? Like, what's going on? Where are our priorities?
Respawn, in the most bizarre way possible, seemed to just want to wipe their hands clean of Titanfall altogether, especially with the mega success of Apex Legends. Or perhaps their hands were ultimately tied, as EA was ultimately in charge now. The Titanfall community would save the day as they would ride in on a chariot dispersing a launch platform mod
North
Star, allowing...
Yep, I've downloaded and played that for a little bit, for like a month or two. It's actually really good. Or it was really good. I mean, I don't play it anymore, but it was cool.
You to play on and even host your own servers in Titanfall 2. Sadly, that would mean that the only way to play Titanfall 1 was using the official channels. That still didn't really work. Well, unless you buy the deluxe edition on Xbox and an actual game disc in the process. Though you will only find players playing attrition game modes these days. Just make sure you don't buy the Origin version because it doesn't work anymore. But North Star actually allows you to still play Titanfall 2 on PC without issue.
Yeah.
In a surprising turn of events, though, that one janitor left working on Titanfall at Respawn would flip a switch and the servers would come back online for Titanfall 2 sometime in 2023. PlayStation and Xbox...
Yeah, like I said, there was like 1 or 2 guys working on this. It was like one dude. Like, I got it, guys. He's got like somebody with a whip behind him. Like, yes, code. Code faster. Code more. Keep coding.
populations would be the best, with PC lagging behind, especially now due to North Star having filled that gap for a while.
Yeah.
Titanfall as a whole was in a better place than it was a few years prior, where it was almost unplayable. But with no future game in sight, it still very much was in a dark place, especially compared to where it could have very much been.
Yeah.
And so the music begins to play in the background, and my voice likely starts to shatter to pieces. Both of these signify that our time on this case has come to an end, and we have gathered enough clues to put this case to rest. Why did Titanfall 1 and 2 fail so quickly, and ultimately find themselves on this series together? Well, if you missed any of the clues along the way, both of them were improperly handled. They were launched in quick succession. Lack of marketing and hype for the second game.
So, improperly handled. Maybe there weren't enough like improvements to the game to make the second one or the first one like, I don't know what, presentable. I mean, I'm not too sure, like improperly handled. Launched in quick succession, 2 years. Maybe they could have waited a year, or maybe like at least a couple months. Lack of marketing. Yeah, there really wasn't.
Hacking attacks brought both of the games to their knees.
Yeah. The whole hacking thing. I mean, that's even an issue in fucking Apex, dude. It's like Respawn. If you're trying to play like a Respawn shooter, like Respawn the company, then it's like this will always be a thing until they fucking upgrade their shit, which I don't see any hints at.
Both games were kind of abandoned.
Yeah.
Apex Legends.
Both games are abandoned. Yep. Apex Legends. I mean. Yeah.
EA's expectations as usual, apparently. And niche gameplay.
Yeah, all pretty true.
Titanfall is a truly tragic tale. I don't know if we have ever covered a more positively received, both by critics and players, multiplayer title yet that still faltered very quickly after it was launched and never quite had the legacy that many believed, myself included, that it could have had. The worst part about the story for me is that we still don't really know if we put more of the blame on Respawn's poor management and mistakes or EA pulling the strings behind the scenes. With the success of Apex Legends, it seems like Respawn is far more focused on that and anything not Titanfall moving forward. And it also shows that they certainly have some talent still, right? Even if you're salty about how Titanfall ended up. While it might be a hard pill to swallow for some Titanfall fans as well, I think that in some part it has to be based in part on maybe Respawn's inability to believe in it and Titanfall as a product. Now, whether Titanfall should have ever even had Titan-level expectations in the first place, though, is actually a real question to ask yourselves. Special and impressive game or not, that doesn't necessarily mean it should have had the largest audience, especially with how high the skill floor and ceiling were in both Titanfalls. Maybe they could have occupied a space more similar to like Rainbow Six. That's why sometimes it's better for games to not try to appeal to as many players as possible. Or at least not have the financial expectations to do so.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for a hint about the next case.
Oh, geez.
Hell.
Oh.
It's about
StarCraft.
time.
Oh, shit. Dang. Ah, man. I always love watching like these random ass videos like about Titanfall, like 1 and 2. Just just to see like what people think was the fucking issue or whatever. Because like I spent like probably like a couple hundred hours like all together playing like Titanfall 1 and 2. I don't know if it was ever like 1,000 hours, but like this is like I don't know, this is like one of those nostalgia games for me. So I don't know, I just enjoy it. And like I'll find myself randomly maybe like just like wanting to play it again. So maybe I'll like boot up Titanfall 2, just play the campaign over again. And yeah. Overall, good ass video. And yeah, I can't wait to see some more stuff from Nerdslayer Studios. But yeah, keep them coming, man. Good shit. But that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.